All right, everybody, welcome to our spring resume review. Get lucky, get hired, and let's figure out how to write a resume together that will be good for this market. And so, as you know, we've put together this webinar, and we do this webinar on a regular basis because we want to talk about what it means to have a job search these days, especially in this competitive market. It's a ridiculous one out there, and I think it's important that we talk about what a resume and a good resume looks like. And so I read a lot of resumes and I've seen a lot of your resumes over the last um couple of uh well, I would say years, and really especially in the last couple of months. Because we have constant conversations about what makes a good resume and why a resume is important, right? So if we were to start the conversation, the resume, I would say, is your marketing document. It is a document that is going to talk about what it is that you do for a living and what impact you've created so that you can ultimately um, so that you can ultimately stand out among any competition that you're going up against. A resume is not a regurgitation of a job description, which is what a lot of people say end up doing. Um, and so I want to run a really quick poll here where we look at what you guys all think about your resumes to start with. And so I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. I want to know, how do you all feel about your resumes to start with? Um, and so, I guess we're all here because we want our resumes to be better, and that's always a good thing to have. So, what else is your resume? Your resume is also something that you optimize for the applicant tracking system. Again and again, we see resumes that folks do not optimize for the applicant tracking system and can generally be how do I want to say it? Um, a sea of text that doesn't necessarily tell a story, but more so um, creates this element of concern around whether you know what it is that you want next, or whether you are uh, going into something that you know that you want to do, or whether you have no clue at all. So before we get into sharing these resumes tonight, I want to talk about that a lot, and then really just going to share each of these resumes, and then go in from there and really just talk about how we can make each and every one of these resumes better as we work through what it is. And so, if you like what you hear, I want to encourage you to go back to the events page. I'm going to go ahead and link that here, and send me a little bit of a donation to tell me that you actually like what you're hearing tonight. If you can't, that's also fine. I do this out of the goodness of my own heart because I want everyone to succeed. And if you want a little bit of additional extra resume assistance, there's also that as well. Please get in touch, and I'm happy to help at any level that I can do it at. Okay. All right. So, um, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Um, I think, let's see. So, okay, we have each of these resumes on their individual screens. So I'm going to first start here. If you cannot see the screen, let me know if you can. Fantastic. And that's really, really great. So tonight we're going to start off with a marketing resume. Marketing resumes are resumes I understand because I myself work in marketing and have been in this industry for some time now. Um, and all of these resumes, I also want to let you know, are being seen for the very first time by me. I have not taken a look at these resumes prior, and so I honestly have no idea what I am walking into other than seeing these resumes for the very first time. And so this resume comes from Molly. She's a Bay Area marketer, who I assume would put marketing in her resume here. And she says she's a results-focused, data-driven brand developer and digital marketer with experience in retail, health and wellness, food and beverage, hospitality, and agriculture. There's expertise in social media management, development, managing creative agencies, strategy, brand growth, and strategic partnerships. And they're a passionate traveler and storyteller. And then below that, we see work experience. And then below that, we see a Mills College MBA. So, um, I see a lot of these marketing resumes, and I see that they're oftentimes focused on the soft skills piece, which is fantastic, but generally is not where we want to see a resume when we start from it. To deconstruct this resume, I want to start a little bit with the introduction statement here, where we see results focused, data driven brand developer and digital marketer with an experience in retail, health and wellness, food, beverage, hospitality, and agriculture. So, when you think about when you put together a resume and when you look at what it is that you are, given where you are in your career, the important piece to always understand is you want to avoid the lines that are table stakes for your job. If you're not a results focused, not interested in the data, and somebody who is not a strategic thinker, where it says strategy down here, there is no way you would ever get into a marketing job, period. And so to put any of these things, in my opinion, is generally redundant because it doesn't tell me anything more about you than besides what you already told me when you applied to this job for the very first time. So, what should you put instead? That's a great question. What you should put instead is there should be always a focus on the impact that you create. And I believe that this is actually going to be the theme of the majority of the resumes that I receive tonight. Many of you decide to focus on job descriptions, which talk about being results oriented, a data driven brand developer, somebody who's strategic, somebody who participates in brand growth. But what you really ought to be doing is discussing how you do these things at all in the first place. Because one thing that you always need to notice when it comes to your resume is that the best resumes end up turning into conversations that you have during the interview process, otherwise known as the STAR method. So, for example, I noticed that our person here has written that as a marketing manager, they manage the marketing team, the agency, and brand partnerships. And they exceeded growth in their social media by 17%, and they averaged a growth of 27% year over year. In fact, if I look through the resume, that's the only data point that I know. And when you think about what it is that a marketer does on a day to day basis, the point of a resume is to showcase your impact. And the point of being in marketing is to create bottom line results as it relates to the business. A company would not hire marketing if it did not believe that a marketable solution was out there so that folks could be truly impactful in changing the business and increasing sales, because that's what marketing's for. Marketing is not for posting to social media and getting distracted on Facebook and having memes. All of those are part of the marketing journey, but they are not at the end of the day elements that change how marketing works. So if you're a marketer on this call today and you're watching this and you think of marketing as something that is purely just for fun and not strategic, I invite you to change that mindset. And so for the remainder of this resume, I actually think that there needs to be more results that shows, right? So they implemented a new and effective CRM strategy. I'd like to know what was new and effective about it. I see that it created cross collaboration and they implemented something that was automated, but what did it exactly do? Did it streamline something? Did it create more efficiencies? Did it create more collaboration among everybody? And that's what truly matters here. What else? They say they develop strategic partnerships to drive brand awareness and sales. Both are fantastic. Can you quantify the brand awareness and the sales that were created as a part of this entire process? They facilitated multiple successful marketing campaigns and drove sales and engagement with a brand. So once again, it's the same question. Did you increase sales? Did you increase brand awareness? How do you quantify that at the end of the day? If the person doesn't have measurable stats to put in, um, and what would you call out if your project was ultimately canceled? Okay, so two good questions from the crowd here. Thank you both for asking. I would say that if you don't have the measurable stats to put in, if you're in that role right now, find the numbers. Go and figure out what exactly happened. If it's past that, if it's past that role already, then I would say you need to approximate. Because at the end of the day, a person who can showcase that they built results over somebody who did not have any results to show for in the first place and has very minimal results is always going to lose out to the person who has those numbers. So figure out what's a reasonable number to put across. Don't say you increased revenue by $5,000, 5,000% when you really didn't. You want to have those numbers there that make a lot of sense. Another person asked, what would you call out if your project was ultimately canceled? So in that sense, I would go with the things that you were able to do from a project management standpoint. And I might actually even think about how I would answer the interview question of why you joined that project in the first place. Because sometimes that ends up being the case of career management and not really knowing what you got yourself into, but you knew you got yourself into that particular project in the first place for a reason. And so having that reason and being able to at least showcase some data before cancellation can show that you were at least results driven and that decisions were made well above your pay grade before it got to you. So for the remainder of this resume, I think it's still the same thing. We still need to see the numbers. We still need to understand the data. I see that this role was 6 months, so it might be hard to even know what you're able to create in 6 months as it relates to the organization and what's capable of happening. And then finally, there's another role here between March of 21 and January of 22. They led marketing campaigns, evaluated performance reviews, collaborated with internal teams, managed the budget, and managed the client relationship management software. All are fantastic, but we need to see results. Finally, there's a section that is missing here that I generally like to see that I place between the work experience section and the summary section, and the that would be the skills section. And so the skills section is what separates everything by comma and is also separated by category. And that in itself will create that opportunity in the ATS to be noticed because it ultimately shows that somebody is building and increasing their skills in a particular area. So that's my thoughts on this resume to start. Like most of the resumes that I think I'll see tonight, we want to see impact and growing impact in terms of where you've been in your career so far. Now let's see. The person who wrote this resume is anonymous, so I'm not going to go ahead and call them out unless they would like to identify themselves in the webinar chat. And if you want to type just specifically at me to host and panelists, I can address your comments there. Otherwise, yeah, let's keep moving. Um, yeah, what resume templates do I recommend? So that's a good question. My recommendation for a resume template is actually not so much a template at all. I know that when Tom Woodrow is here, who usually does this webinar with me, his recommendation is usually kickresume.com or novoresume.com. And I'm going to go ahead and put those both down here. Um, Personally, I believe in a format that gives you your name, job role, followed by summary of work, work highlights, followed by skills, work experience, and then your education in that order. And if you're a newer graduate, then I would actually do name, job role, summary of work highlights, education, skills, work experience. And that's what I would do for new graduates. Volunteer work, I would probably place towards the bottom past your experience, unless that volunteer work is so significant for you that you believe it's going to make a difference when it comes to the job you're applying for. Okay. All right. So, how many people do we have in the room? We have 41 people in the room right now. Welcome to all of you. I do see that we do have comments here. If you have any questions, let us know as well. Um, and we're going to keep on going here. All right. But are there any other questions as we go through our resume highlights here and figuring out what it is that we need to do to make our resumes look better? All right, what else? Eddie says, for work experience section, would you recommend to use words from posted job descriptions in order to pass the applicant tracking system scanning process? Would this help? Um, I would look at the applicant track. I would look at the job description and see how much you can match up. But overall, it should be authentic to your voice and what you sound like. And by the way, let's see. I do see that we have a bunch more resumes that are coming in here. So I'm going to try and get to as many of them as I possible. If you have your name and your number on your resume, please note that it may get shared and this may go out somewhere into the public since this will get streamed to YouTube. It may not be a bad idea that your resume is out there if it's a good resume. That way it can be public and people can see it later. So please use discretion when sharing. All right, we're moving into our second resume. This is a data scientist who just recently graduated from UC San Diego and has been working as a data scientist for the past 4 months or so, and then was previously that of an intern. So this person is a much newer graduate. For me, I think that they should put their skills up by their education or underneath their education since they're relatively new. Within their title section here that they've blacked out, they should indicate that they are a data scientist, and they should also add a section here for highlights specifically. Now, when it comes to the work that you do as a new graduate, it's a little bit different because you are new in the industry. And so a lot of your work is more project based and rather than being a strategic manager. And so for me, this resume generally looks pretty good, although I still do want to see some kind of impact, right? So they said they develop supervised and unsupervised learning algorithms to analyze player data, translating actionable data into complex data into actionable insights. And so, as somebody reading this resume, I would like to know what sort of actionable insights are we concerned with here? What is it that actionable insights that your employer cared about? They published articles detailing analysis pipeline and results, showcasing communication skills and ability to convey findings. So that is not necessarily a bad bullet. Although I, as a resume reader, would not like to be told what your resume is supposed to tell me from a what you can do perspective. I want to know these things from talking to you, and I want to know these things from an impactful perspective. So when you say you published an article detailing analysis pipeline and results, I want to know how did you end up using that data once it was published out there? Companies don't just have people write assets and white papers just to write white papers. They want these assets to have a measurable impact, whether it's to get somebody to do more research, whether it's to convey some conclusions that they wanted to draw, or something in between. So once again, even from a technical standpoint, we want to be showing that you're building results. Right? One of the things you will hear from me as I do resume reviews and talk about job interviews and things in between is that when you take a job, you are doing one of likely usually two or three things. One, you are helping the company make money. Two, you are helping the company save money. Or three, you are helping the company transform so that they can make money or save money. And so jobs where you're making money include marketing, sales, digital marketing, being an account executive, being in business development. Jobs where you are helping the company save money or streamline money include accounting, finance, operations, administrative assistance, and then jobs where you are helping the company transform so that they can make more money is jobs like software engineering, data science, operations, strategy, right? And strategy can kind of straddle the line between making money and transforming the company. And so if you're in any of those kinds of roles, which all of you are, because I'm saying there's three categories, I want you to think as if you were running your own company and how you would make that all work within the realm of um, your career and where you've been in your life. So this is a good resume, good start. Um, Kelly, if you are here, please feel free to get in touch to hear about any feedback that you might have. All right, so we have a couple more comments coming through here. And by the way, do please feel free to network while I talk. Feel free to include your LinkedIn. Please let us know where you're dialing in from. So, um, would love to know what the thinking is about putting location, remote, in person, or hybrid on the resume. Um, I would say that that's indicated from the jobs that you apply to. If you are applying to an in-person job or a hybrid job, definitely put down your location somewhere so they know where they are calling you from. You may still need to put your address again because we're coming back to the days where roles are in person. All right, another question. Please guide on how to present yourself when there have been work gaps due to caregiving, but the candidate is keen to return to full-time work. So caregiving is a unique place to be for sure. You can put caregiving on your resume because it is a multifaceted job. You are literally acting as if you are the product manager of your family or an elderly loved one. And so well, yeah, and you should definitely state that you took a break because of that. You weren't just taking a break to take a break. And so the right employer will understand what you are coming back from, and they will want to know how you have kept your skills up or stayed in touch with the industry while you were gone. When should a resume be more than one page? A resume should be as long as it's relevant to the job that you are applying for. And if you have been working for, I would say, more than three or four or five jobs, then you probably can put it onto the second page, given the level of experience and the level of work that you've done so far. Another question. What if I haven't worked in a while? Can I put recent education completed, like a professional certification, or do I leave the gap and just place recent education under the education section? I also did some consulting work, but I had to sign an NDA due to the company being in stealth mode. Yes, you can use vague consulting work. You can say that you are under NDA, and so you can't talk about it at length, but you can talk to some of the work that you were able to do in that time because you still created the results that you did. And then putting the I would also include, what is it, stating that you got that certification. So maybe moving your education section up would be helpful. So let me know if any of this advice is helpful so far. I hope I'm being clear. I'm trying to try and read in each and every one of your questions as I go along and to make my way through it. So the next resume I have is that of Araya. They are open to relocation, also remote or hybrid. They're a talent acquisition professional with a decade of experience across a variety of different brands, mostly what looks like gaming. And yeah, so this is good. What I would like to see here again in the profile section, if you're in the transformation business, which HR is, you are responsible for hiring and ensuring that talent is filled. And you're measured upon the efficiency at which you can build these teams so that the company can get to doing what it needs to do when it comes to building its business. And so The number that I see here is 10 plus years of experience, which tells me that there's a lot of experience, but I don't know how long it takes them to find talent. I don't know what their accept rate is, and so forth. And if I'm somebody who's hiring an HR person or a recruiter, I want to know that they can sell the role. Skills and specialties are fantastic. I love having this here because this is at the top, right? As you know, one has 6 seconds to read the resume here at the top left-hand corner. So we definitely want to make sure that all the highlights are where they're supposed to be. In addition to here, so we have all the experience. So again, right, led end-to-end recruitment initiatives for leading massively MMORPG game studios, user lighting Greenhouse, ATS, and LinkedIn Recruiter, recruited diverse talent across multiple disciplines, conducted numerous comprehensive candidate screenings, resulting in the successful of over 50 developers at various career levels. So if it's volume recruiting, I think it's fantastic because it showcases that you're able to grow and grow quickly. I also want you to indicate impact again, right? Recruiting and HR can be cost centers. And so the faster you're able to recruit and find that talent, the faster you can get to a point where that talent can start quicker and the business can transform quicker. The same thing here would be said about, let's see, we're looking at again, right? Administrative tasks along recruiting, a lot of general administrative work. Um, I mean, the brands, are working great. And so, see, what we have here is helm the successful new graduate engineering program, resulting in 12 entry-level engineers hired and onboarded within a period of 3 months. If I'm a business executive looking at this, right, and I'm making it down to the near the bottom of the first page of the resume, this is something that I would want to see at the top because what it shows me is, and I have an initiative and I have something that's prioritized, and you can get me 12 engineers hired and onboarded within 3 months, then we are doing a fantastic job here. All right, 3 recruiting events and job fairs, connecting 100 potential candidates and expanding the talent pipeline. So again, attending events is good. Connecting 100 potential candidates is good, but I want to know how many of them converted. I want to know how many of them helped increase your efficiency when it came to finding new candidates. And so that's sort of my feedback for the remainder of this resume because I think that it shows that you're a good recruiter. You've lasted 10 years in this industry, but I would want to know, especially in this very tight market, what you do better at recruiting than everyone else who's also watching and doing this at the same time. And so if you can show your unique value proposition as that recruiter, then you ultimately will win the game because you do it better in an uncertain environment that showcases how different you are. So that differentiation piece is incredibly, incredibly important. All right, more questions. Hi, Aria. Okay, I see you are here. Yeah. So let's see. Okay. So Aria, I don't know how I'm saying your name here, but do you have any thoughts? And do you have any questions on what I might have said? Okay, cool. Wonderful. And I'm so sorry to hear about the gaming industry. It's just falling apart before our eyes right now. And so hopefully it can rebound. Um, Let me see. I'm gonna go ahead and put you on audio so I can speak to you directly. And let me see, where are you? Okay. All right. So did you have any thoughts on the resume review?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Um, those are all great thoughts, and I really appreciate it. I think my biggest challenge is that I haven't been good about collecting metrics throughout my career.
Mm,
So I know that recruiters like to see those on resumes, but I don't have a lot of that info myself. Sometimes I've had to guess or try to remember those numbers. I know somebody else asked about this too, but in my case, like how can I wiggle around that and still, emphasize my experience?
yeah. So when it comes to measuring your success, and so this matters in every single industry. Um, the KPIs that are assigned to you at the beginning of every fiscal year are the ones that ultimately go on your resume and showcase, okay, you launched how many products, you recruited how many people, how quickly did you recruit them, how fast did you onboard them, and so forth. And so I would think about what it is that your goals were when you were initially hired and see how as close as you possibly can to get as close as you can to really honing those numbers and then using those highlights on the top of your resume so that when somebody sees your resume and is going through the hundreds and hundreds of recruiters that apply for any single job, that they can see you first and notice that you focused on impact as opposed to just administratively hiring, and that will help you stand out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Feel free to send it
Mull that
back
over.
and I'll take another look and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's see. We have another bunch of questions coming through. Um, all right. As a recent graduate who want to be a research scientist, it seems like I got not that much to mention on a resume. Yeah, I mean, if you can talk about projects that you did in school, I think that's another way to do it. Definitely see where you can focus on with that. Gladys. Okay. Okay, you sent a resume. I will take a look at it. Um, what do I think about putting years only, not months on the dates employed? I think if you've had a lot of short roles and a lot of short times, so you've been a contractor for the past couple of years, then that's something that you can definitely address as well as you look through, as you that you can do when you put your resume together. So years should be okay. All right, here's another resume from Jane Doe. Um, they are a versatile and creative writer, skilled in optimizing content across platforms to enhance user experience and drive organizational success, microcopy, and so forth. So, my guess is that this person is a UX individual. I'm looking at this resume for the very first time. It isn't quite clear all the way through, but I'm starting to see it a little bit as I go through it. And truly, this is not how the resume experience should be when I, as either recruiter, hiring manager, or resume reviewer, see the resume for the very first time. So again, next to the name, put it in terms of what work you do. In your summary, bullet points for the type of highlights that you've created in your career. And then for every single role, this should be bullet points instead of paragraphs. These percentages of what you've been able to do should be placed in your summary section. And then anything else that you look at, I know that this is text edit, so I'm not sure how accurate or good it is here, but you definitely want to check your spelling, just so that doesn't that might not turn out that doesn't make you look bad as you go through as you create your resume. So always looking over your grammar and so forth is incredibly important. Um, I see community involvement, food pantry, those are fine. But yeah, overall, I think this resume needs to have more bullet points that summarize what the individual is doing. I only see in this latest role the impact that this person created. I'm hoping for more impact over here as well in their previous roles. Generally speaking, it's something that we see bullet points, and so I think that's how that resume can be improved. So if you're here watching tonight, let me know privately if you'd like what you think of this review, and we'll move into the next one. In the meantime, are there any other resume questions? Are there any things that folks are running into um, as they get into the market here that we currently have? So is a summary required? I would say a summary is required because when you look at a resume, the top left-hand corner is where people spend the most time at. and they have 6 seconds to see your resume. And so, if during those 6 seconds they can't read their way into a summary, or they can't read their way into something that clearly explains what it is that you do for a living, then it becomes incredibly, incredibly difficult to get clarity on what you do. And so in that sense, you are not doing yourself any favors as you write your resume. What if we're applying to government jobs? Would these principles also apply? That's a really fantastic question, and I wish I had an answer for you on that. I do not specialize in government jobs, but if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I can connect you with somebody who does. And we're looking at doing webinars around government jobs anyhow, because I think that would be something that I would like to learn myself. Another one. How do you prevent age discrimination for older workers on the resume? Take off your education years and only put the most latest roles that are relevant to what you are looking for so that you can the latest the latest roles that you have been working in that are relevant to what you're applying in. And so that they may not know the difference in terms of how long you've been in there. So if you are anywhere more than 5 to 10 years out of school, take that off your resume at this point. All right, so I have a ton of resumes from a lot of you. Let's see. Okay. All right, so go ahead and share the screen again here. This is a resume from a social media manager. I do like that it's right out in front of me that they are a social media manager. Um, and I like that the summary is written in a really personal manner. Um, I think that it's fantastic that it is. However, I would say that because we're focusing on building businesses here, as opposed to becoming friends with people, that this summary section paragraph that we're looking at here needs to focus exclusively on the results that you've built over the number of years that you've been working in social media. So let's go back right to the example that as a marketer, your job is to help grow the business and build revenue. A social media marketer exists at the top of the marketing funnel. And so, for all of those of you who are here and are not marketers, what I mean by that is you're supposed to build awareness for people who see things for the very first time. So, if you think about going on Facebook or going on Twitter and going on LinkedIn, all those posts that you see, um, all those posts that you see where they want you to click on something is where they want to get your attention for the very first time. So you click on an ad for a web page, an ad for a webinar, and you go and you engage in those things, and then hopefully you buy something. And the social media manager's role is to create attention that draws towards that by creating a conversation, by posting a meme, by having engaging videos, engaging images, and getting people to swarm like flies on posts and really create that level of attention. So if I'm looking at something here, right, I notice that this person has achieved 120% social media growth in 2 years. They own the Black Friday strategy, where they grew it by 57% and 43% year over year. They founded a brand podcast with 65,000 downloads. They grew a Facebook Fitbod community from 6 to 21,000. And you know what? It took me nearly halfway down to find that. Whoever sent this to me, I'm disappointed in you because you have undersold your amazingness by making me actually search for this. Where this needs to go is it all needs to go up here in that you can and to show me that you can do it and that you can build a company's social media strategy and do it in a very efficient and amazing manner. And the same goes for really the rest of this. Um, with regards to the job you've had for the last 3 years, these are probably some of the most amazing numbers you can have that you need to put up here in the summary section. So do that, and that's going to help you stand out even further because, again, somebody who's looking at your resume is going to look at basically this section where my mouse is, right? So they're going to see over the last 6 years, And that's all they're going to see because they don't know really about anything else. But you should instead say prolific social media manager with a track record of growing brands by an average of XYZ%. Um, attention grabber for B2C brands with 65,000 plus podcast downloads and social media growth of over 120% over the last 2 years. And so it's all very important because this was what ultimately drives revenue at the end of the day. Um, yeah. No worries, no worries. I'm only disappointed in the way that I know all of you are amazing and geniuses in your own world, and I know that you all can do better. And I'm here on this resume webinar tonight to ensure that all of you can be more competitive. There are a lot of people out there who are writing resumes just like you are right now here today. And by the time we're all done with this, you're all going to write resumes that are different that will, I guarantee you, get you more attention because you're focused on the business and you're less focused on what your skills were able to bring. All right, what else? Since the achievements, okay, let's see. Um, since the achievements are supposed to be under the summary section, what do you write under professional experience? So under professional experience, you still write your achievements and you expand upon what those achievements mean. The summary section is meant to be a really, really quick highlights of what it is that you've done. So if you want to say, for example, from this resume, and I'm going to go ahead and reshare it, what you would say in the summary section is you would say something along the lines of prolific social media brand manager with a track record of achieving 120% growth year over year, um, brand engagement with 65,000 podcast downloads, and uh, increasing community retention and engagement by 20% quarter over quarter. And so that would be one of the bullet points. Then you might talk about streamlining social media reporting, saving 20 hours a month using a particular metrics tool that you have that creates dashboards. Now, as an interviewer, if I were to work backwards through this resume, I want to know now, okay, you've led social media growth of 120% in 2 years. How did you do that? And that's where I might go into into the individual bullet points. But most importantly, for those of you who are well versed in your interview questions, what you do here as well is you create an opportunity for a star question. So what I'm going to ask this person now, if I'm hiring a social media person, is that's amazing that you grew your social media channels 120% over 2 years. Tell me how you did it. And so the person is going to answer by saying, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my company's marketing strategy, which I spearheaded. I was approached by the CMO a few months ago, and they told me that they wanted to grow the social media channels that we had because that was our greatest volume of prospects who are interested in our fitness products. And so I went to work, and what I did is I worked with my marketing senior marketing boss on creating a marketing strategy. And that included developing a paid marketing strategy where we put in a budget of XYZ. We thought about going to events like we did with CES, where we increased foot traffic. We have an email marketing strategy, and we built an email list through the people who stop by and buy our products, and we redirect them to our social channels. And all in all, that resulted in a 120% increase because from that strategy, what we leveraged were memes. We leveraged engaging webinars. We hired celebrities and fitness trainers that are well known in the community that we know our members look up to and want to learn from. And that in all resulted in a 120% gain. And so, as the hiring manager, what I would take away from that is number one, you wrote your resume in a way that allowed me to throw you a softball. And number two, it tells me that you know how to think through marketing strategically. And number three, you just told me how you did it. And if I hire you, because you put it on your resume, you also now demonstrated competency. And that if I ask you to do it again, as a member of my company reporting up to me, I now have the confidence that you can repeat this again. And so the next thing, the next piece of insight I would want you to take away from writing your resume is to create bullet points that allow for you to be thrown softballs by by hiring managers who want to learn more about you. And so I understand I'm making sports analogies here. Basically, I want to make it really easy for you so that when you walk into the interview, because your resume is so good, your stories that are on your resume are stories that you have already memorized, and you can take that memorization to the next level and and really hit it out of the park. Gosh, I'm making more sports analogies. You can really just it makes it really easy for you so that you can know what you're talking about and be an expert on your own experience. Because unfortunately, a lot of people are not. Okay, so any other questions while I look for the next resume here? I don't see anything yet coming in on Facebook. Um, Okay. So, um, I know some of you else have sent me resumes. I'm gonna go ahead and look at the anonymized ones, just so I can protect those of you who have potential privacy concerns. Yes, Linda, I got your resume as well. I will look at that in a moment. And I'm familiar with your resume, Linda, so I think I'm going to be blown out of the park. Okay, so this is another one. So they are a project manager. As you can see, it's right up here. First thing to start. Amazing, amazing. I like it. I'm not a fan of the two column because I think it distracts away from what it is that somebody can see in terms of their capabilities. Remember, top left hand corner, 6 seconds. If all I have to see in the first 6 seconds is that you're a project manager and your profile is on the left hand side, I need to see immediate highlights here beyond your 20 years of experience that showcase to me why you are the project manager that I need to take a second look at. And so the caveat here is if you're going to do two columns, then I want to see somewhere here that you have these 100 concurrent projects that you manage, that you've increased team performance by 35%, that you've increased completion performance 9 points to 95% in 6 months, and so forth. And maybe something else that showcases what you've done throughout your career. But overall, go back in the beginning and look at what I said about ordering of your resume. If anything else, I want to see that uh you have it in the order that I mentioned. But if you're not going to do that, I want to see the highlights and things that really make you the standout project manager in an otherwise crowded market. So just continue to look down here. I do see the contact info. That should probably be somewhere closer to the top up here. I shouldn't have to scroll down to take a look at how to get in touch with you. And the same thing goes for skills. These skills need to also go on the first page somewhere and be separated into skills that are technically focused as opposed to table stakes focused. So for example, and I know I mentioned this earlier in this webinar, but if you're going for any single job where cross-functional team leadership, team performance building, risk management, and process improvement are table stakes ideas that you need to come into the job with, sticking them on your resume is not going to do you as good because it doesn't really tell me how much better you are. Now, if you want to pepper the resume with these words in these bullet points, then I think that's a good thing. However, for your skills, I would urge that you keep it to um, I would urge that you keep it to tools and other items that you use throughout your job that make things relevant. So again, right, I see that you have really great numbers here. Um, I think that these should all go somewhere in the profile section if you're going to do the 2-column thing. So yeah, that's my review of this particular resume. We're gonna keep going. Yes, I did get some of your resumes, and perfect. Okay, wonderful. So I think we're getting the idea, right? I want everyone to have an understanding that when it comes to what you do at the end of the day, the point at the end of the day is impact. So if I were to take a look at this and just do this again, right? You are in a job that is either responsible for creating money, saving money, or leading transformation. It's important to remember that at any given point in time, any company that ever wants to hire is doing things in those three areas. And if you're not doing anything in those three areas, then you probably don't have a job to begin with at this company, or you're going to be losing your job soon because you're not helping out in any of those three areas. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay. All right. I'm continuing to look. Okay. All right. I'm moving on to another resume here. This one is a trilingual marketing leader with 13 years of agency and in-house experience. Oh my. Okay. I'm sorry, but I'm looking at this resume and I'm instantly confused because I'm looking at this for the very first time. I see 2 columns here with key achievements, expertise, hands-on skills, professional experience, digital marketing certifications, and then your education, and then so forth. Okay, so this does not need to be a one-page resume, I would say to begin with. Um, oh my goodness. I'm overwhelmed. Okay, so this resume needs to be in order. Again, highlights, skills, experience, education, and I think I mentioned highlights. So the highlight section again needs to integrate the key achievements into this top level paragraph area. You might want to state you're a trilingual marketing manager somewhere atop here, but you want to put this into that. Then you want to go into your tools, which I think are fantastic. Certifications are okay too. Then as you go into your expertise needs to integrate with your tools and hands-on skills. You don't need these 2 sections. You only need one of the two. And then as you go into your company piece, your bullet points should state what it is that you did. And yeah, this resume is a good start, but it does need to be 1 column. I can see that if a recruiter were to look at this, they would be incredibly overwhelmed, just as I am, especially when they don't have time to look at a resume. So those are kind of my thoughts to begin with as I look through this. Feel free to send me a revised copy with all the details and we can talk it over. Yeah. Oh, okay. No worries. Okay. All right. So we've gone through a lot of resumes so far. Yeah, I agree, Deirdre. They should parse as bullets in the ATSs. So I want to understand. We've been at this for about almost an hour. What's the biggest lesson all of you have learned so far? I'm hoping that you've heard me say this word enough times to know what it is that uh I'm impressed by the density of that last resume too. I'm surprised that you could fit that much in 1 page. And that resume truly should be a 2-page resume if it goes that long. Yes, quantify is the word, the Q word. Thank you. So yes, please quantify because I want to know you to all know that you are all amazing at what you do. And the less you quantify or the more you stuff the quantification of your resume, down into the second, the third, the fourth pages of your document, the less the less you're going to be able to uh to get noticed as you move through the market. Um oh yeah, let me see here. Uh Excellent. All right. As someone who's been a contractor for a lot, quantifying super hard as I'm hired to do something, then do it. The results happen after and aren't shared with me. Yeah, that's a tough one. So if you're able to find some way to quantify the streamlining that you did, then I think that you can get to some point that really shows that that you're leaving that impact. Contractors are hired for a specific reason too. And it's not just there to um, and they're not just there to be there for 6 months, because if you're there for 6 months and you don't do the job, then that's also a potential red flag as well. All right, so the next resume that's coming up here. Um, okay, so this is the resume of a VP and marketing leader. I already know I love this resume because I Ali executive, my email at takeyourpick.com. I love it. So what do we love about this resume? It's got impact, impact, and more impact, right? They grew a developer community from 50 to 300,000 users. They increased lead flow and pipeline by 300%. They launched a product marketing line of a $5 billion product family. They developed user communities that contributed $500 million in sales pipeline. And you know what? If I see this within the first 6 seconds, I'm calling you in for an interview because I don't really need to see the rest. I don't need to go down and go to page 2.5 and see that, all these other things happened, which they all did happen. I just need to look at the highlights. And since they're come vetted as a VP of marketing, it is evident to me that they have the skills because they've made it this far. And it's impact, impact, impact all day. I may see some red flags with this fractional VP of marketing role that's still ongoing. So I'm hoping that some impact has been made along the way. But holy cow. Um, if I'm looking to build something and I want that to happen within a certain time frame, then whew, sign me up. Um, and so as you can see, right, they mentioned their $500 million in sales pipeline up here. It's also mentioned down here, but because I only have 6 seconds to read it, it's in the top left-hand corner. And so, this is what you want to see, honestly, out of every single marketing resume that comes across your desk. It's going to be different if you are somebody who works in a technical space or as an administrative assistant. But if you understand the gist of what you see in this resume, you're going to add similar numbers and similar impact terms in this resume as you would in others. So this is a quick one. I'm impressed. I love the thoughts. But yeah. Yeah. If the numbers are in achievements or on the profile summary section, no, the same numbers can go, Michael. I think because resumes are long and you have a long book of experience, if you have numbers in your resume that say one thing here and say another and say those same numbers again halfway down the page, that's totally fine. The purpose of the highlight section is to take out the things that you really want people to see and put them up top, right? So, like, for example, I'm going to use another sports analogy. We all enjoy watching the San Francisco Giants play or the San Francisco 49ers. Let's do a 49ers analogy because they've been really good lately. And we hop on YouTube to watch all of Brock Purdy's touchdown passes, and we really enjoy watching those. But sometimes we also really, really love football and we just want to watch the rest of the game. That, random 3-yard run in the middle of the third quarter. If we want to do that, we go and we watch that too. And so, oh, gotcha. And so that's kind of like your resume. The top highlight section are your sports highlights. But going down into your professional experience piece is where you can find that 3-yard run, which in a lot of ways can be just as important as all the touchdown passes because certain plays set up other plays that eventually lead to scores that happen. So hopefully that sports analogy made sense. I'm hoping it does, and we can run with it. Okay, let's look at another resume here.